right, so welcome to It's Worth a Shot. This is part one of a two-part series with Jeff Grant from the Department of Health in Wyoming. And this will be on falls and fall prevention. Let's go to the next slide. So as always, we do have a third-party presenter today, but this information provided does not constitute endorsement or recommendation by Mountain Pacific, but we do like to give you as many examples and information as possible. So that's why we have brought you this outside presenter today. Next slide. Okay, we have a couple updates and reminders for you guys. There's a public health impact for dementia. That is tomorrow. So if you haven't registered, go ahead and join that. There is also a PharMerica staffing mandate compliance update that will be on Tuesday, September 10th. Then we have the Center of Excellence. This is changing the narrative of suicide by addressing suicidal behaviors in nursing facilities. And again, the registration is below. And then we have a long-term care webinar for the 24-25 respiratory virus season. And that will be on Monday, September 16th. Next slide, please. Okay, it looks like we've got a couple more webinars. So from the INSPAC, we've got the DON support group meeting, so Director of Nursing's. And then we have the Medicare open enrollment period boot camp for 2024. And they've got to save the date. It looks like it'll be Wednesday and Thursday, the September 25th and 26th. So they have not made the official announcement, or registration is not open quite yet. Looks like we had something in chat there. So we will send out the slide deck and you'll have the links will be live in the slide deck. So you can go ahead and click on those and then open, but we can also go through and select those and put them into chat for you while the presentation's going, and you can link them there. All right, next slide. So just in case you guys weren't aware, we did have the slide last week. We just wanted to let you know that the 2024-2025 COVID vaccine has been approved and is supposed to be hitting shelves someplace near you soon. But again, we covered the slide last week. We just wanted to leave it here as a reminder. And next slide. So for housekeeping, again, Mary will put an evaluation into the chat that we really appreciate you filling out. We do read those and take into account topics that you guys might give us, or feedback to make sure that this is a worthwhile event for you guys to keep coming with us every Wednesday for the It's Worth a Shot series. So do please take the time to fill out that evaluation so we can see how we're doing. And then we might have a polling question here, but we also have a couple more slides before we start the presentation. Mary, are you doing the polling question here? All right, does your facility have a workplace violence prevention policy? Yes, no, or unsure? All right, looks like voting is slowing down. Majority have a yes, that's good. Okay, let's go ahead and end the poll there, Mary. And then we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so we have added the weekly influenza snapshot and the COVID snapshot back into the slide deck. If you guys have been with us for the long term, you'll know that we have these during the cold and flu season. There is not a lot of data reporting yet. You know, we just wanted to get into the habit of, we just like to get in the habit of having this here and making sure everybody's aware of the spread and any hot spots or anything that's going on right now. We can go to the next slide. And here is the weekly COVID. So again, deaths 2.2%. It's a pretty big change from the prior week, but again, we're getting into the cold and flu and RSV season and whatnot. So we probably will start seeing these trending up. Next slide. Okay, I want to go ahead and turn the presentation over to Jeff. He will quickly introduce himself, and then we have quite a presentation to go through for you guys. So Jeff, go ahead and take it.
All right, hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you just fine.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Grant. I'm on presentation 4 of 37 presentations I've got to give over the next 6 weeks. So I'm kind of bebopping all over the place. I am Jeff Grant. I'm an unintentional injury prevention coordinator for the state of Wyoming. I deal a lot with any unintentional injuries, falls prevention, traumatic brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, motor vehicle crashes, even suicide prevention. So my job is to travel around and do presentations. So with that, let's get started. So what I want to talk today about, the purpose is I really want to raise awareness of the prevalence of falls and their serious consequences, and hopefully I can help you increase your knowledge on reducing the risk of falls. Next. Real fast, we're going to do just a quick brain overview. Now, when I talk about traumatic brain injuries, really what that is a concussion. A concussion is simply when you fall down or your brain hits the inside of your skull. So your brain is a soft material that if it smacks against the hardness of your skull, it can cause a concussion. Different parts of the brain affect different regions of our body. The frontal lobe affects different things that we do, decisions, emotions, stuff like that, problem solving. The parietal lobe over on the backside is our sensory information, our sensation, our touch. My favorite is the occipital lobe because I always joke that the back part of our brain controls the front part of our face. It gives us our vision. It perceives the shapes, the colors that we see. So I always say the backside of our brain controls the front part of our face. Then we have the cerebellum. It controls our movement, our balance, our coordination. The brainstem controls our breathing, our heart rate, our swallowing, blood pressure, stuff like that. And our temporal lobe deals with the hearing and speech. Now, the brainstem is connected to the spinal cord, and through our vertebrae, there are nerves that shoot out from every single vertebrae. The 5 different regions: the cervical, the thoracic, the lumbar, the sacrum, and the coccyx, all have nerves that shoot up to the brain that gives us messages as far as what sensation that we're feeling at that time. Go ahead. So really what a traumatic brain injury is an injury to the brain caused by a blow to the head. You don't have to fall down or hit your head to have a traumatic brain injury. Basically, it's your brain that is smacking against the skull. So it can be forward, backward, sideways. Even a hard whiplash can cause a traumatic brain injury or a concussion. Next. The causes of traumatic brain injury, for young adults, motor vehicle crashes are the number one. But for what we're talking about, the purposes today, falls are the number one reason or the number one cause of traumatic brain injuries. Older folks on average, over 65 years of age, we fall at least once a year. We start to. And this is the most significant cause of traumatic brain injuries. Next. I apologize. I usually have a clicker in my hand. You can't see me, but I'm clicking to go to the next slide and it's not working. So I'll have to be able to say next. Some of the signs and symptoms that we have for concussion or traumatic brain injuries are headaches, head pressure, nausea, vomiting, blurred vision, dizziness, sensitivity, feeling sluggish, or you just don't feel right. Now, the one thing I want to tell you is if you do fall down or you feel like you've got a concussion or a traumatic brain injury, do not go to sleep. Make sure that you get to see a doctor right away to make sure that you're okay. Next. So what should you do? Tell somebody right away. Don't hide your symptoms because they can gravitate over the course of time. You want to talk to your doctor immediately and just get the rest that you need during that time. But make sure that you tell somebody. And I know a lot of guys, older men like myself, we're kind of stubborn. We don't want to talk about that we fell down or that we think that we have a traumatic brain injury. So we try to hide that. So make sure that you tell somebody right away. Next. I'm sorry. The consequences that we have with concussions is over the course of time, it can cause memory loss, impaired judgment, difficulty concentrating, headaches, fatigue, loss of balance. These are just a few. These are just minor concussions. Next. So we want to talk to our doctor. when we talk to our healthcare provider, they're going to do an examination. They'll make recommendations. They'll reevaluate, and they might talk about what is your daily routine? What are you doing? What can we do to help you promote the healing of a concussion? Yes, concussions can be healed over the course of time, but if you neglect that, it can get worse over time. Next. So let's get down to it. Let's talk about falls. Next. Falls are common among older adults. More than 1/3 of people over the age of 65 fall every year. Now, 2/3 of those that fall will do so again in 6 months. Falls are the leading cause of both fatal and non-fatal injuries for those over 65. In Wyoming, we rank in the top 10 of falls injuries. And I know over time it's gotten, if you look at the graph that we have, and it's not on here, but over the course of time, we have increased the number of older folks that have fallen as we get older. Go ahead, next. However, falls are not an inevitable part of growing old. There's a reason that we fall, and there's things that we can do to lower the risk of falling. I, for one, am one that I still think I'm young enough that I can do all the things I did when I'm younger, but as I'm getting older, I'm finding out that I can't climb a ladder and swing like Tarzan like I used to. Next. Some of the risk factors that we have for falls are vision impairment, unsafe home environments, medication regimens, and lack of muscle strength. Next. This is what I kind of feel is the meat and potatoes of this presentation. Let's talk about the fear of falling. Next. There's what's called the cycle of falling. Once we fall down at our age, once we fall down, we have a fear of falling. And when we have a fear of falling, then we reduce our activity. We restrict the activities that we're doing. When we restrict our activities, then we reduce our mobility. As we're kind of like not going outside, walking, or doing whatever exercises that we do, we kind of have a tendency to stay in the house. We reduce our mobility. Once we reduce our mobility, then we start to isolate ourselves more. We don't want to go out because we're afraid to fall. Once we start isolating ourselves, then we have a loss of physical fitness. Well, once that happens, we get more fear of falling because now I'm not exercising anymore. Now I'm fear of falling. And this vicious cycle just goes round and around and around, and it gets worse and worse. We have to get over the fear of falling and just keep moving to keep our activities constantly going, keep our mobility constant, be out and about as much as we can. Next. The effects of fear of falling is when we reduce our physical conditioning, it increases our risk of falling. It leads to reduced activity, it leads to loss of independence, impacts our mental health negatively, and it diminishes our quality of life. And what I mean by our loss of independence is we just feel like we can't do anything anymore, so we're going to isolate ourselves now. Once we start to isolate ourselves, then we basically really do lose our independence. Next. Home safety is one of the keys that we can start with to protect ourselves from falling. So let's talk about home safety. Go ahead. The safety in the home is the living room, the kitchen, the bathroom, the bedroom, the stairs, the hallways, the walkways, the ramps. We need to look at each room specifically, find out what is it in that room that would maybe cause me to fall down. Go ahead. General information that I always say is always carry a phone. You know, the thing is I'm sure that the audience that I'm talking to is old enough to remember the rotary phones that we didn't carry around with us, but now we have cell phones everywhere we go. So they're really easy to slip in our pockets. So really, we want to make sure that we carry a phone with us everywhere we go, even if we're in the house, because it might come in handy sometime. We need to look at the tripping hazards. Do we have cords that go across hallways? Do we have cords that are on top of rugs? Do we have cords that are sticking out from, say, underneath our recliner? We need to look at the clutter in the cords. Our throw rugs, do they have sticky backs, or are they just thrown down, or are they slippery? We need to look at the lighting. Is the lighting where you take your medication? Is that bright enough that you can see the proper medication that you need to take? Is it bright enough that you can see where you're going to, not just the next few steps, but to the end of your walk, and also the emergency response system. Next. In the living room, the throw rugs we need to look at is, do they have sticky backs? Are they in a place where if you step on them, they're gonna slip, or are they secure down the floor? In the kitchen, a lot of times we have wooden floors that they're a lot slippier at. In the living room, the throw rugs are the rugs old enough now that the edges have started to turn up? Are they becoming a tripping hazard? We need to look at arranging the furniture so we don't have to like step sideways to get around furniture. We have plenty of walkways to go through there. Extension cords, we need to make sure that we don't have extension cords in between, say, a couch and a chair that we might walk through and become a tripping hazard. Are there books and stuff laying on the floor that you have to walk around? And again, carry an emergency in case of emergency. And when I say ice, I mean in case of emergency. We always want to think about the word ice. Having that phone for ice in case of emergency always comes in handy. Next. In the kitchen, we need to place often used items like, say, the toaster, the blender, whatever it is, within reach. You don't want to have to grab a stepping stool to step up and use the toaster. Anything that you use on a daily basis, you want to have it within reach where you can just walk right up to the counter and just grab it. If you have to step on a stool, make sure it's a steady step stool, but make sure it does have a handle so you have something to balance yourself with. Don't climb on top of a chair. Don't carry pots of water, because what happens is if we spill water, then all of a sudden now on the floor, we have wet floor and it becomes slippery. And the mats that you do have, we have to make sure that they're non-slip mats. Next. The bathroom is the same thing. We need to make sure that we have non-slip mats in the bathroom. When you step out of the shower or out of the bathtub, make sure that the mat that you have down there is secure, it's non-slippery. A lot of times the showers might have water going outside the shower or the bathtub. We might splash water outside of the bathtub. And once we get out, then the floor is wet. We need to make sure that the mats are non-slip. We need to make sure that we have non-secure bath mats in the bathtubs or the showers when we're taking a shower. Mountain grab bars for the shower and the toilet if we need them. Even on the side of a bathtub, sometimes it comes in handy. Use a raised toilet seat if we need to use that. Handheld shower. I know my mother-in-law had a handheld shower in her shower after she had broken her hip. We had just had a stool for her, and she had a handheld shower, and she sat on the bench and used it then. And use a tub seat or a bench that you can just sit comfortably in and have the handheld shower to use there. Next. In the bedroom, this is where I've learned my lesson. As I get older and I'm starting to get up more at night, we have a bathroom in our bedroom. I don't use it. I use the one in the hallway. I don't know why, I just do. But when I get up, I have a tendency, not to turn a light on. And when I go to bed, I walk into bed, I just drop my clothes right there. Well, I have learned now that I have to put my shoes under the bed so I don't trip over them. And I actually have a nightlight outside in the hallway now. And since I bought two puppies a year ago, now if I get up to go to the bathroom, the puppies are at my feet wherever I go. So now I have to be very, very careful when I go to the restroom at night, because they're at my feet. As those of you who have dogs know, that they constantly follow you wherever you go. So I have to make sure that when I get up, that I can see where I'm going. So a lot of times now I'll get up, make sure that you pause when you get up so that you're not dizzy. If you wear slippers, make sure that they have a closed back. And again, declutter the walkways or have the rugs, have a phone. My phone is actually on the edge of my dresser when I turn the corner. So it's very, very close to me. Next. Going up the stairs. Again, remove all the rugs on the top or the bottom, simply because that's where most of the falls occur, is when we take our last step at the bottom and the last step on top. We put most of our weight, most of our pressure on that last leg that we step up on. We need to keep focus, keep count of the steps that you have. It's nice to know that if you have 8 steps, You walk down, you do that, because if you maybe, our wash machine is downstairs. So I've counted our steps. We have 17 steps. When I count those steps, I'll know if I'm carrying a basket of clothes downstairs. I know exactly how many stairs I'm at. So when I walk down there and I can't see the bottom, I know exactly where I'm at. You want to keep your hands free, unlike what I just said, carrying my basket downstairs. I have one hand on my basket, but one hand on the railing as well. We have a nightlight at the bottom of our steps to keep me, so if I'm going down there at night, we can see. Now, if you can use an over-the-shoulder bag, that's even better. And again, carry your phone. Always wear shoes on the stairs if you can, because if you're in bare feet or socks, that's when it becomes slippery. And if they're too slippery, you might think about putting a tread strip on the steps to keep it from, if you're in socks, keep you from slipping going down the stairs. Go ahead, next. And the hallways. Again, this is where we need to make sure that the clutter and the cords are not in the hallways as we walk down the hall. Remove any throw rugs that we have in the halls. Again, especially if they're old, you'll see them the edges start to turn up a little bit. Those become a tripping hazard. Make sure that you can see the lighting to the very end of where you're walking to. And again, if you can use a small card or a bag, that's going to be very, very helpful. Next. Where do you want to stop at? I think if we stopped here, we could answer some questions. I do want to tell you people that everything that we're talking about, we have handouts, and I think that Miranda's going to give handouts or has them online. I do believe that you guys can have. But should we, Miranda?
Yeah, I sent them out today with the reminder, and they'll go out next week again with the reminder.
Okay.
We do have 8 minutes left, so I think you could keep going. A couple more sections, I think, and then we can call it. Unless anybody has any questions as of right now. I don't see any in the chat yet.
Okay, let's go ahead and go then.
All right.
So we've talked about safety inside the home. Now let's talk about safety outside the home. Next. The walkways and ramps that we have to use. If you have a walkway built or using one, try to use a ramp that's listed a 5-degree angle. So you're not have your body leaning forward or backwards too much that's going to cause a fall. Always, always, always use a handrail when walking up walkways or ramps. If you can, get some non-skid deck paint. I didn't know anything about this till a couple years ago when I learned that you can get it was kind of got a sandy grit to it that you can paint on the walkway outside your house. That is, so if it rains, you got kind of a little grip that helps you out. Have a no-step entry if possible. Try to keep your hands free at all possible unless you're holding on to the railing. And always, always, always wear sturdy shoes when you're outside. Next. In the yard. This is where I have fallen down a couple times simply because I'm outside. I have about 1.5 acres that's landscaped, and I'm always outside, pruning trees, pulling weeds, doing stuff. And so I have to have a phone. What I've learned is to carry my tools in a bucket instead of like walking back and forth. As I get older, I'm getting smarter that I'll carry my tools in a bucket right to where I'm going. But always wear shoes on the outside. Always look ahead to make sure that you can see if maybe a sprinkler head is up or there's a hose around that you can see. I've had my knees replaced, my hips replaced, so now I have to use a garden kneeler because kneeling on the ground or rocks, having metal knees hurts to kneel down now. So I always have knee pads on when I'm kneeling down. And a system advice, if you need to pick something up, is a little grabber that you can pick up or a longer tool. Instead of having handheld shovels, have a shovel that you can use standing up with. And again, I carry a bag of supplies with me. I'll put all my tools in a bag, my rakes, my shovels, my clippers, all that in a tub so I can carry with me wherever I go. A bucket's what I want to say, wherever I want to go. Next. And on the street, we need to be very, very careful. A lot of times we get in a hurry or we start to look down. We need to scan ahead because what we're finding out is everybody's in such a hurry now that they're not paying attention. I just gave a presentation on distracted driving. to younger folks just a couple hours ago, and I talked about the fact that how far they go in a matter of 4 seconds when they're on their cell phones. They're not paying attention. So we need to scan ahead to make sure that we can see what's this. If there's a car coming, do we need to wait for that car to get by us just to be on the safe side? Always use a crosswalk. Don't ever walk in between cars, again, because of the distractions that we have anymore and people don't pay attention to driving. We need to be safe and be seen. If you can wear reflective wear, do that, especially if you're walking out at night. Always wear reflective wear. Use a flashlight, definitely at night. Cross away from parked cars. Don't walk in between parked cars. Make sure that you walk away far enough from a parked car that people can see you, and allow additional timing for crossing. I know when we were younger, we used to try to beat that timer. There's 3 seconds. Oh, I can make it now. Well, now we're not quite as fast as we used to be. So let's just maybe wait for the next light turn and give ourselves more time. Go ahead. Parking lot and shopping areas. Again, watch for the slopes and the ramps. I know Walmart's where I live at, they have a ramp or a sidewalk that's elevated from where you park. So a lot of times I see people getting out of the cars, walking to the sidewalk, and they trip because they don't realize that it's a sidewalk and it's elevated. So we have to watch for those slopes, those ramps, wherever we're parking at the mall, at the shopping area. Make sure that if it's at night that you park under a light or a well-lit area. What I tell my stepmom is when you get out of your car, the first thing you do is go grab a shopping cart and use it for stability to walk with it. You can use it to help guide you and help keep you upright walking, or use assistive devices such as a cane or a walker, whatever it is that you need to do. But a grocery cart is a really, really good one to use if you don't have one. Use your glasses and your hearing aids. Again, as I get older, I didn't used to have to have glasses. Now I have to have them everywhere I go. Step with your feet about shoulder width apart. Okay. And scan ahead. Always look both ways because the cars aren't looking for people. They're looking for other cars. So we need to make sure that we are seen. Next.
I think we'll go ahead and stop it there for this part of the presentation, and then we can move on to the let's talk with the doctor at the beginning of the next section. Is that okay with you, Jeff?
That sounds good.
Perfect. Do we have any questions from anybody on the presentation so far? I didn't see any in chat.
And I apologize if I'm talking too fast. I'm trying to get a lot of information out in a short time.
We have had quite a few people reach out and thank us for the resources that you sent to us. So they are opening them and looking at them. So that's good to go.
Good, good.
Okay, so we can go ahead and skip to the very last slide. Mary, looks like we don't have any questions. Jeff will be back with us next Wednesday, so that's September 11th for the second half of this presentation. I will send out the link to the slide deck. So this portion of the slide deck that he just covered, plus the recording, will go out next week with the reminder. And then the second week, so after the September 11th, then the second portion of his slide deck will be posted to the website as well. So you guys will get the resources again next week with the link to this first part of the presentation. And then the following week, you will get the link to the second part of the presentation if you'd like to watch it again. So again, we want to thank you all for joining us, and we hope to see you next week for part 2. And you guys have a great rest of your week.